Hey guys, it's KOKOStern, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. The recent patch that was released also put in a tutorial stage that, to say the least, isn't really perfect. And we're actually going to go through and play the entire tutorial stage and check out what I dislike and what they did well and what they need to work on. Now, before we jump in, I just want to say that I am a little bit disappointed because Valve is the company that created wonderful games such as Half-Life and Portal that do an incredible job of teaching the player how to play the game and the mechanics. Now, obviously, Dota is completely different, and it's a completely different task here to teach the player. But I'm still a little bit disappointed, and there's a lot, there's a lot to do better, and some pretty obvious mistakes. So we're gonna jump straight in. So as we start this off, and we have the beautiful map and everything, so there's a lot of other stages, and the first stage isn't supposed to teach you everything about the game, but there are a few basics that we're missing and that we're doing anyways and we have to do, so why not explain them? Now we start off with Razor just hitting stuff, and he was just there. He just existed over here. And instead of just existing, and then he TPs out, instead of just existing, and I'm going to pause the game before we continue, this is fine, but it can be a scenario from an actual game. So think about a tower, and he breaks in the defenses of the Radiant, so that's why Davian needs to come up and help. And there's a tower, and he comes in with creeps and destroys the tower, and while they were attacking, all the dire creeps died, and then the tower started attacking Razor itself, and then Razor destroyed the tower, and he was low on life, and then he has to TP out. This is an actual scenario that happens in the game as well. You attack with creeps, you're almost killing the tower, you kill the tower, and then since you're low HP, you go back. It makes sense, it's part of the actual game, and it will make more sense, and there's no reason not to do it because this part is, I'd say, scripted and it's controlled, so you can do exactly that. So let's move on and meet Davian. And the first thing that we have so much is a ton of speech bubbles. And the speech bubbles are fine, but they can be, you can remove a lot of the text and make it less fluff. Now, this guy is going to tell us, should tell us in a second, to right-click to move. There should be a separation between what characters are saying and between how to do it. Characters tell me, come over here. There should be narrative text here that tells me right-click in order to move. So the narrative text that's just going to be at the top, floating text, tells you how to do things, which is UI, which is controlling the game. So it has nothing to do with the actual lore or story, if you will. And it makes much more sense, and it's more comfortable and feels better than a dire creep telling me to right-click. So I'm going to go over here, and we need your help. Cross the ridge, head north, and follow the path. We're learning to move, okay? And Dragon Knight, our old enemy Razor, is attacking our outposts. Keeper of the Light already went after him. He said to send you along when you showed up. So quest, my main quest is to kill Razor. And it should be quest kill Razor, and below it there should be another one, find Keeper of the Light. That should be what's happening right now, not just find Keeper of the Light, because my main quest is to kill Razor. It should be working in that form. Now, suddenly I have HP bars and things like that. I'm just going to stop my character. Attack this Dark Creeper by right-clicking him, kill him, kill him, kill him. Again, right-click should be written at the top, and he's sleeping. Now, this is a direct misleading of players. Creeps will never sleep. If he was, say, here, and just looking in that direction, and if I get close, he'll attack me. That's fine, but he shouldn't be sleeping. He really shouldn't be sleeping. And from this point, we should already get to know last hitting and experience. It's fine that we're not doing it, but I can actually last hit the creep and not really sure if I last hit him or not, what exactly happens in those cases. Now, another problem is that we're level 1 and we don't have skills yet. We didn't get a skill point, and we'll get to that in just a second. But as I attack the creeps and just wait, notice that this is the main thing that we do in this tutorial. It's attack creeps, and this can take a really long time, and we actually have to get to level 6. Now, I'm allowed to deny here. I just denied the guy who said something. You never want to mislead. Misleading is the most important thing to avoid. But in some cases, it's fine. In this case, not allowing someone to deny is fine because you wouldn't expect a new player to ever know how to deny and that it's a possibility. Now, we're gonna go to the watchtower. And this is another very small thing, but you don't want to use watchtower. You prefer using outpost, which you've already used because towers are actually things in the game, and you don't want to mislead anyone. Now, I finally level up to level 2, and I have 1 skill point. Why not have him start with level 1 and already have level 1 allocated in Breathe Fire? So you'll already have it from the get-go. And now when I level up to level 2, I can choose between Dragon Tail and Dragon's Blood. Now, and the creep tells me to level Breathe Fire. That makes no sense. So, by allowing me to level 2 and already have 1 point in Breathe Fire, it will A, allow us to not restrict the player, and B, will let us explain that you need to be hero level 3 in order to level Dragon Breath to level 2. It'll let you do that with the narrative talk, which is an important feature of the game. I can't just go Breathe Fire, I'm level 4 and it's level 4. I have to be level 7. There's proper progression, and you can explain it here. You decide not to do it because you want to Breathe Fire now. So, now we have to wait a little bit. More creeps squeak, use Breathe Fire and burn them. This is a part that we can actually completely take away as I try to last hit. And notice that I did last hit, and even if I don't know what last hitting is, I just stop it and I manage to last hit, there's that boom gold. And obviously I don't have the gold UI right now, and I won't actually get it. And right here you save that that's why we'll hold this watchtower, press on to find Keeper of the Light so you can team up to fight Razor. You don't need to say this, you can just say press on, because I'll have the quest right here, find Keeper of the Light, and that I need to destroy Razor. You don't have to repeat it 14 times. Now, I last hit, I didn't get the gold, and now when I'll reach the shop, I'll actually have exactly 400 gold. So, there's a lot of troubles with the shop, and the first thing that I want to say is that think of allowing people to last hit anyways. Now, we start off with 400 gold, we immediately have 400 gold, and it's, what about all the gold that I got from last hitting? You can counteract this by letting people get gold before buying anything and having initial gold enough to buy exactly what you need. So start people with 250 gold and let them last hit stuff. And so you'll buy just the stout shield, let's say, and then you can last hit. And have the goal of what they need to actually get bigger than 150 gold for gauntlets of strength or something like that. And we reach that in a second. But the first thing that we do, hit B to open and close the shop. We can remove that entire thing and have the narrative tell us to press B in order to open the shop. Now the shop obviously has a ton of items and we want to restrict that, so that's perfectly fine because we don't want people to get overwhelmed. But there's only Stout Shield. And I don't like this at all. I think Quilling Blade is a much, much, much better item to use up. Yeah, it can kill trees, but there's no reason for us to, well, why do we care about killing trees? And specifically, since we're going to be attacking a ton of creeps in order to reach level 6, which is a lot, this tutorial lasts like 13 minutes if we just streamline through it. Quilling Blade will help make the entire tutorial faster without lying, without misleading in any way. You just attack better. And Quilling Blade is just a really smart thing to buy here. Now, I'm willing to go midway here. Allow the player to choose between Stout Shield and Quilling Blade. This will teach him that you have a specific amount of money and you can only buy one thing. You have to decide. In this case, it's a very simple decision between offense and defense, but it's still a decision, which teaches the player to use his money correctly, the way he wants to. Now, still, Stout Shield is kind of a waste here because you can't die. If you reach 1 HP, you're just going to stay at 1 HP, whatever you do. And specifically, Dragon Knight is Strength Hero, and later we're going to have Dragon's Blood, so we're really hard to kill anyways. So, why use Stout Shield? Quilling Blade is so much better. And now we're going to get the Stout Shield, and we're forced to get Healing Salve and use it. I'm at full HP. Why do I think Tengu's will be so much better? First of all, if we're going to use Quelling Blade, you can eat trees anyways, and that mechanic is fine. We don't have to explain anything other than you eat a tree. Juking and things like that will be implied, and you can teach them later at stage 14 for all I care, but it's not a problem to eat trees, and it's a really important part of the game. In addition to that, when you buy Tangoose, you get 3 charges, so you can explain what to do with one, and then I have 2 additional ones to use while I'm gonna fight creeps. It makes sense. It allows me to use my items other than when you're telling me exactly. Now, after I'm forced to use the salve, I'm forced to use, be careful if you take damage while the salve works, that's fine. I'm forced to buy a clarity as well. So, yeah, about the tabs itself, not the tabs, the speech bubbles, there should be an X button that allows you to close them and move along things, because if you read really quickly, or you're just waiting, and you're supposed to read so much. The narrative talk should be up there telling you exactly what you want to do, and you should be able to close the speech bubbles whenever you want to. So the narrative is always going to be there, and you should be able to pull it up by it should explain what you're supposed to do right now, and it stays there so you know what you're doing. So clarity, and I bought the clarity potion, and now I'm forced to use that as well. And I see the buff. Yay, okay, you explain buffs, that's an important thing, but the clarity potion, you should allow me to use the clarity potion, but don't force me to use it. So, now well done, now I have another item in mind for you, and it's going to be a Gauntlet of Strength, but I need more gold. So, now we're gonna go and jungle by ourselves. Yes, it returns me to the bird that, since you asked, spotted several neutral camps in the woods. Now, while we're going to fight 3 camps, which is a ton, and kill all of them in order to get just a bit of gold. At level 2, who jungles at level 2? It's kind of a wrong idea. But I'm going to ignore that and talk about something else. While I'm fighting, the bird that's obviously with me can teach me things. And I'm actually going to go here and try and use Fire Breath on everybody, so this will be a little bit faster, because it's going to take a long time. So, the bird can explain things about the game. Obviously, you want to be careful here because you don't want to get too much into strength and agility and intelligence and maybe things like that. But maybe explain that your damage isn't, this is an average. So I do somewhere between, I just leveled up, somewhere between 53 and 59. So the average is 56. And maybe explain what armor does. And more importantly, explain speed and movement speed. Now, why do I want to explain movement speed? I don't think you should be buying a bracer. I think you should be buying boots. And this will help the entire tutorial and makes more sense. Boots cost a lot of money, so even if you start off last hitting from the beginning of the tutorial, which will allow you to amass a pretty nice amount of money, you'll still won't have enough money to buy the boots that you need, and you'll have to go, say, to the jungle or to kill other creeps. Now here I'm forced to get Dragon's Blood, which again I don't like. You should be able to choose whatever the hell you want. Remember that I'm forced to have 1 point in Breath Fire and then 1 point in Dragon Tail or Dragon's Blood when I reach level 2. Now that I'm level 3, I can choose whichever one I want, which allows for more customization, and you need to let the player do whatever it wants. The only place where I agree with limiting the player is when he reaches level 6 and you want him to take Elder Dragon form. In that case, it's fine to force him to choose something. But in all other cases, I just don't agree with it. Now, what I was saying about boots. Boots are more important. They allow you to move faster, and you really want to use that. What you have to actually do in this, pretty soon, we're going to go and get Circlet. Now we're going to get a Gauntlet, we're going to get a Circlet, and then we're going to go the recipe for Bracer. So we're basically going to go, fight Dire Creeps, come back, buy one thing, and then go back and fight Dire Creeps again. So it's so much repetition, and there's no reason for this repetition. It's so much. It should be one time, maybe I go to the Jungle Creeps, which... again, I think you can remove the jungle part, but go talk to the defeat Dire Creeps in order to get enough money and then get 500 and buy it. Now you should also allow the player, since there's infinite Dire Creeps, you should allow the player to buy whatever he wants in terms of consumables. Buy additional Tengus, buy a salve, maybe, and if he buys a salve, explain what it does, only if he buys the salve, and buy clarity potions to get mana. Now, we're actually going to go in this part, well, wait, he needs to finish. In battle, you need to strike the last hit. You should have said that a million times, a million light years ago. And now this way, yeah, he can start moving once he said this way because it's really, really short. And here we meet up with Keeper of the Light. Notice that he's attacking creeps. And now he talks a lot. My old friend Dark and I, we've had ourselves a bit of a dust-up. You lend us your sword arm, we'll keep you supplied with mana. So now he's actually attacking, which is nice. Once he heals my mana once, he's gonna stop attacking. So he healed my mana once, and now he stops attacking. He just doesn't attack, he walks around. Now, I know what you want to say. It's fine for him to not attack because support characters are not supposed to get last hits. But there's a lot of problems with this, and specifically, since we need to do so much here, you can have him attack and then maybe have the threshold where he switches targets be the amount of everyone's attacks. So, how much damage does Dragon Knight's attack plus Keeper of the Light attack plus all the creeps attack? How much damage does that do? That should be the threshold, the amount of HP that a creep that Keeper of the Light is currently attacking that you switch targets. So he shouldn't get a last hit ever, but he's still helping to attack things and not just standing around, because it's not like he's pulling or anything like that. He's just standing there. Now, and it might allow him still to last hit if we all attack at the exact same time and use Fire Breath, then he might actually be able to last hit. But that's fine. It happens as a mistake. It's okay. You don't want to limit that completely. You don't want to feel so restricted in this tutorial. Yeah, you're trying to teach something specific, but restricting so much is bad. And another thing that I have a problem with is specifically Keeper of the Light. So I understand what you're trying to do here, and so you'll have infinite mana. But this is so specific. Keeper of the Light is the only character that can allow you to have infinite mana in this game. And this is never the case. You don't have infinite mana. You're a strength carry. Well, a strength character. We'll ignore the carry role. But you're a strength character that doesn't have a lot of intelligence, doesn't have a lot of mana, and needs to conserve her mana. You can't just use skills like that. And Keeper of Light being here and resupplying you teaches the player that you can always use your skills, that you can just spam skills, and this is wrong. This is so wrong. And I really don't like the fact that it's Keeper of the Light. A much better solution that kind of does what you want to do here, but is much better and not as entirely, is have Crystal Maiden instead of Keeper of the Light. So Crystal Maiden can have, first of all, Frost Nova, which could help clear out creeps. So when they come up, there's a new wave. She can immediately use it. She won't get last hits or anything like that, but she'll help clear the wave, which is nice. Her attack is also lower than Keeper of the Lights, and she has her beautiful aura. Now, she can explain the aura, what the aura does while you're fighting, because remember, while you're fighting, it's dead time. You're just right-clicking or just waiting. And explaining stuff while that happens makes sense. Dragon Knight is a strength character, doesn't have a lot of mana. I'm a support character, I have a brilliance aura, and it allows you to regenerate. It explains auras, it explains different roles in a general way, so it's not too much. And it makes more sense than Keeper of the Light. You don't have infinite mana, but you do have much more than normal. So you can use your skills, but not spam them as much, especially since she'll be lower leveled. Now, we're supposed to reach level 6, and it's going to take a while, but now I have enough money for bracers, so we're going to go over here and buy the bracers, and then go in this direction and just fight creeps till we reach level 6. Now, there's a big problem. I'm actually going to go show and shop, and I'm going to buy the bracer. It explains how to use recipes, which is fine. We want to do that, but I still would prefer boots because it's way more important, and you can find how to do recipes in a different way. You really can. And such an example would be to allow the hero, after he bought the boots what you wanted, to tell him, if you come back later if you have enough money, and I'll sell you something else, and then you can teach that as well. It won't force the character to buy anything he doesn't want to, but it'll allow him more choice, and if he does go back and buys the bracer, it'll teach him how to do that. And fighting so many creeps as we're supposed to do will allow us to have actually a lot of money if we last hit, and we're supposed to learn how to last hit so we can have the bird tell us, remember the last hit so you can have enough money to buy the bracer. You won't force us to buy the bracer, but it will definitely help us, and it'll give us a reason for the bird to keep telling us, remember the last hit, remember the last hit. Now, Keeper of the Light is right here, and again, he doesn't attack or doesn't do anything. But the most important part about Keeper of the Light being here is the fact that he's stealing my experience points. A much better solution would be, first of all, to have him, I'm going to hang back here and buy something at the shop. This makes sense that your ally went back to buy something and he's staying there, so that I'll be here alone, fighting creeps, and leveling up much faster than with Keeper of the Light stealing my experience. Number one. Number two, if Keeper of the Light wasn't Coddle, he was actually Crystal Maiden, I'd still get the global aura. And you could say that this aura is global, so I'll still be able to support you even while I'm buying something at the shop. You'll still have the mana in the way that we talked about earlier, but the other hero won't be stealing experience from you, so you'll reach level 6 much faster. Now again, I'm forced to pick Dragontail in this case, which again I dislike, and yeah, he explains what Dragontail does, but it's just a waste. And as we reach the conclusion here, we're gonna see Razor coming in something that I really, really hate. And I'm sorry, I just have to fight creeps, and it's gonna take a while until I manage to actually reach level 6. But what happens when you reach level 6 is that you're forced to pick Elder Dragon form. That's fine, because you want the ultimate. And then you're forced to use it. Now, that's fine as well, because you get to see the dragon form and things like that. But what happens after that is really atrocious. Razor TP's in. Does he have boots of travel that work on trees? You have to remember, think about the actual game all the time. Think about the actual game. You don't want to mislead, and you want to only do things that are possible in the actual game. And Razor TPing in out of nowhere is impossible. So, don't allow that. Have him come in with one of the waves. Just, Razor is seen approaching. Once you reach level 6, he should be here with the next wave. And that's it. Makes much more sense. Now, specifically, this Razor should only attack my hero and not anything else. Remember that I can't die, so it doesn't really matter. And he could be level 6 and even use his own ultimate. And you could be said, careful, Razor is using his own ultimate! Or something like that. Doesn't have to use Static Link because that's a really big skill and needs more complicated explaining. But he can use his ultimate. And remember, you can't die, so why not just fight him in a bit more normal way and have him attack only you and use his skills more often. So, overall, it's okay. There's a lot to work on here. You have to remember, do not mislead, and let the player choose between things. You can do a lot more in the allotted time, and since we're really attacking creeps for such a long time, use that time while you're just attacking, first more effectively by removing the other hero at the last part, and secondly, by just talking and explaining things. There's a damn bird. Let her explain things to you that are helpful while you're just attacking things, say in the jungle or dire creeps. So that's exactly what I did. I just gave feedback. Hopefully you'll use this. Valve will use this, and this is my view on the recent tutorial. I believe there's obviously a ton of work. It's not easy at all teaching Dota. I've taught Dota to a lot of people, and it's not an easy game to teach. But we could do better here, and this is what I think. We're not done just yet. There's a couple more things that I wanted to say. The first one is that you can remove Dragon Knight talking and having audio cues like Dragon Knight comes and things like that while the tutorial is running, because it kind of disrupts the game, and it shouldn't actually be. It disrupts it in the flow of the story and how it actually works. That Dragon Knight comes and things like that. Now, another thing that you can do, these are all small little addendums. You can have, since if you'll use Tengu's and a Quilling Blade, you can have, say, a branch, a GG branch that gives you +1 to all attributes, hidden in the trees as an Easter egg that will allow players to understand in some way juking as well without misleading too much. I'm not completely sure about that, you have to test it, but it pretty much just explains juking in a small way and field of view and things like that without telling you that there's items hidden in the forest. Now, another thing that you can do is if you will decide to build up towards boots, the bird can, instead of telling you, okay, let's go to the forest, it can tell you, you have a decision either to go search for Keeper of the Light or Crystal Maiden, whoever the other hero is. You could go search for it and join the fighting of the Dire Creeps, or you could go to the jungle. It'll allow for decision and give the player a choice without holding his hand too much. You can either farm here or here, either in the lane, it's not really the lane, or the jungle. This makes sense and corresponds to the actual game. Additional thing is that while you are fighting, there could be more things. It's again dead time that you could use to teach other things, such as pressing S in order to stop the animation. A lot of people use it, and it's a good thing to teach while fighting off just a lot of fighting. Now, you could do the narrative talk that I said to put at the top right. You can also put it in the actual quest log. See, the quest log, there's just one thing you need to do all the time. And it might be better to have exactly what you're doing right now and have the narrative talk and explaining how to use the UI over there. It's fine because it's sort of the quest log, but it tells you how to play the game. It's fine to use it, and if you actually have each thing as a quest log, you can then scratch it over, as you've already done that, press right click to move, but you'll always have it on the top there, scratched over. You could maybe have it collapse and expand in order to see the things that you've already done, such as right click to move or right click an enemy to attack him. So the instructions are always there in case the player forgot them, and later on when you get more complicated instructions, it will also help out. Another thing that you could do is have the other player, the other hero, if he's in shopping, like I said, to do, then he could come in and say, Razor has been spotted, so I came over to help out. That would be a good way to put Razor in because he's coming with the waves. So he's been spotted out, maybe even with a ping. The one last thing I want to say is that you can browse the entire map, but there's no mini-map. There's really no reason not to have a mini-map. I get it that you want to really hold the hand of the player, but you need to let go a little bit and let the player learn for himself. And showing the entire mini-map, again with Fog of War, it's just like the game in most cases. It's just how the game works. And it will allow the player to connect to jungle camps that are in a specific way, to say that that's a jungle camp, and Dire Creeps, a specific way to show that those are Dire Creeps, and a specific way to designate the shop. It'll teach him to use the minimap as well, and you can ping in order to tell him to go to different areas. So those are all the things that I wanted to say. Again, thanks very much for watching. I hope this has been insightful, and hopefully Valve will take at least some of my points into consideration. And I've been KOKOStern. Thanks very much for watching. See you later.